Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
This is Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Brett Amundson, along with Dan Amundson and David Eckhart. And Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism joins us right now. Joe, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Brett, things are good. I tell you what, man, it's a good week of ice fishing.
And ice fishing obviously still going on, and it's the extended season right now up at Lake of the Woods. Are people catching fish?
That's the thing. I mean, I heard some of the best reports this last week than we've had in a few weeks. You know, I kind of mentioned that, in February, fish are spread out, low oxygen. The road, one of the ice roads out is 24 miles long, and those fish are spread out, and you got to find them, and then you got to fish every fish. So, the fish are there, but they're a little lethargic, and I heard some really good reports. Now, does everybody whack and stack them? No, most are finding enough fish for a fish fry night, which is already pretty good fishing. But there's some that were catching 40, 50 fish out of the fish house. And I don't want to say that's the norm, but I'll tell you what, those are some of the better reports we've heard in a long time. A lot of suspended fish. So watching your electronics, some of the bigger fish are coming, and halfway up in the water column. I saw one post or report that somebody got a real big 29-incher, and that was 7 feet below the ice. But when you see suspended fish in your electronics, you want to get up to them quick because normally they're swimming through. You want to get up to them quick, but what you want to do is when you get about 2 feet below them, slow down your retrieve so you don't spook them, and get it up in front of them or just above them, and then shake it. And if they're active, a lot of times they'll dial right in on it.
I've been hearing more and more stories about people catching big walleyes like that, suspended or not too far into the ice when you're in deeper water like that. You think that's always been a thing, or do you think that's maybe in a year where there's more snow or less oxygen, or do you think they're just up there roaming around feeding that up that high?
I think they're up there. Yeah, I think they're high in the water column looking for tulipies and stuff. I really do. And the other interesting thing too is, there is one guide told me, he said, Joe, the fish are down there. We can see them on our electronics. But there's also schools and schools of shiners. He said every walleye I open up has a whole bunch of shiners in it. So he believes that the fish have always been there. It's just that, they have a buffet in front of them every single day. They can pick and choose when they want to eat, how often they want to eat, et cetera. So, it's interesting. And, normally what happens if there's any talk about fishing or maybe tough fishing, oftentimes it's in the month of February. Once we get the open water, people are like, holy smokes, where were these walleyes come ice fishing,
And when do we always go, Dan?
Go where?
Like what are we talking about right now?
The Devil's Lake in October hunting.
Wow.
No, I mean, are we talking an ice fishing trip? Are we talking Rainy River? Are we talking open water?
Have you been listening to the show? We're always up there in the winter in February, Joe. That seems to be our problem.
I mean, not always. I've gone up twice in my life. So that's where I was confused by your question there, Brett.
Well,
I think Dan has those earbuds. He's got music in one ear. Maybe it's a show now. Danny, switch it over to the show this time, just for a couple minutes.
Wow. I'm just trying to understand the context of the question. That is all.
Let's talk about March a little bit because obviously new fishing licenses now for the state of Minnesota, and then some different rules regarding 4 Mile Bay, Rainy River, Lake of the Woods up there, Joe. It's now all catch and release from March 1st to April 15th on 4 Mile Bay and the Rainy River?
Yeah, and it's important to be specific on that because on our lake, the normal limit applies. It's a combined limit of 6 fish, 6 walleyes and saugers. Up to 4 can be walleyes. Slot limit 19.5 to 28 inches. You got to let go. Keep 1 over 20. That still pertains on the big lake. Now, when you get in 4 Mile Bay, which is at the mouth of the Rainy River and on the Rainy River right now, from March 1 through April 14th when the season ends, it is a catch and release season only. And that's because some of those fish are starting to slide up there and prepare for that spawn.
I'm excited about the river opening up. Of course, we've got our fishing tournament, the SGR 500, the second annual SGR 500. It's going to be coming up April 11th and 12th on the Rainy River. We decided to move it just a little bit later this year, Joe, because last year when it was a week earlier, we were dealing with a lot of ice yet. We had a snowstorm. I could still see us, the way winter's going, I could still see us having a snowstorm during this tournament. But hopefully the weather's a little bit nicer and we've got more landings open. And then it's kind of nice because it's right before the walleye season closes. Now, obviously, it's all catch and release anyway, which is fine. People go up there in the spring to try to catch a big one, but it's right before that season closes, and that's a pretty popular time up there, isn't it, Joe?
It is, and I'll tell you something. Why is spring fishing on the Rainy River popular? Number one, for many, it's the first time they splash their boat for the whole season. It's tradition. You know what? There are not a lot of areas in our neck of the woods that you can fish open water, during this time. And what happens is you have a very large portion of these big walleyes that are out in the big water of Big Traverse Bay. Not everyone, but a lot of them, a good percentage of them, they'll slide into the Rainy River to spawn. Now you have all these big walleyes constricted into our river. They got the feed bag on, they're big. And the reason the DNR allows this kind of fishing is because they don't believe there's very much mortality at all. The water is ice cold. That's good for releasing fish. It's pretty much a shallow fishery where you're catching the fish. Most are using a jig or maybe even a crankbait, but they're not using live bait rigs where the walleyes are taking it down into the guts. It's a situation where it just kind of works. And if you recall, it wasn't that many years ago that they had a 2 fish limit on the Rainy River, and the 2 fish you kept had to be under 19.5 inches. They got rid of that, and the reason they did is because when the DNR was doing electroshocking, they were noticing that the number of mature male walleyes on the Rainy River the numbers were starting to drop a little bit. And of course, even though people go up there to catch a bunch of fish, to catch big fish, everybody was keeping their 2 fish under 19.5 each day, and a lot of times those are mature male walleyes. So they said, let's just keep this a catch and release. That way, our males can, stay in high population, which will just add to our successful spawning on the river. And that's what it's been. And, we really haven't heard hardly any hiccups from that.
Well, we caught a lot of fish this time of year there. We caught a lot of fish on the river during the tournament last year. We didn't get that. I think the big was, a 27?
I caught a 28.
You caught a 28?
Pre-fishing. Which
is a good one. Oh, yeah, it wasn't in the tournament. That's
yeah.
Right. And I think Scott had a 27 or something like that.
26.5.
26, yeah. Which are great fish. I'm not trying to knock those fish at all. Obviously, you're looking for that 30 or a big fat one, something like that. And but we caught a pile of fish, and we're looking forward to that opportunity once again. And if the walleyes aren't biting, you have the chance to catch maybe the biggest fish in the state, which is a sturgeon, which are they're easy to fish for and they're fun to catch. So our tournament is open to walleyes and sturgeon with top 3 lengths in both categories, getting some prizes. It's only $40 to enter. We'll do 50% payback. 25%, Joe, of course, going to go to Keep It Clean up there at Lake of the Woods. And and it's all catch and release, and it's real simple. All you got to do is log into the Fish Donkey app. Download the Fish Donkey app on your phone, and you can sign up for the SJR 500. It'll be our Rainy River tournament, April 11th and 12th. We'll be based out of Riverbend Resort on the Rainy River there. It's going to be a good time. You can find out more information about it at sportingjournalradio.com. And Joe, if people want to learn more about a trip here during the extended ice fishing season up at Lake of the Woods, or maybe start thinking about spring or summer, what should they do to find out more info?
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you going to tell Danny how you caught all those walleyes last spring, and you keep it a secret?
It's a secret now.
That poor guy. He was following us around him, and I thought we had a tail on our boat for a while there. He's following us around.
He wasn't even running a boat.
He's still. I tell you, he's still kind of bitter about it. You can kind of tell by his attitude. Danny, you gonna catch some fish this spring?
Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will, and I won't tell you.
I was going to say he's been talking a big game lately about this. After what happened last year.
So. It might be a take a kid fishing weekend.
Hey, listen, I see this.
You're fishing in my boat?
I see a tear coming down his cheek. Let me just say, Danny caught a lot of fish last spring. He did just fine, and he's a hell of a good angler, and he always holds his own. We just tease him a little bit. He's like our little buddy.
Little buddy. Yeah, it is take a kid fishing weekend, I guess. Is it free fishing license weekend that week, too?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a good time, and we'll see if your mom outfishes you again.
Hey, I hope she does.
Yeah.
That's the one person I'll be happy to have outfish me. You guys, no chance.
Absolutely. She took
I remember we looked over at your dad, Brett, and it was pretty cool because, he was, talk about, how old is your dad?
He's 82. He'll be 83 in May.
He was out. We had snow on the Rainy River. and he could have gotten under the little the bimini top on the boat he was in. Nope, he didn't get under the cover. What he did, he stayed out there. I think he might have had camouflage on, coveralls on a jacket. He was full of snow. He looked like a darn snowman, but he was out there just jigging away, and talk about hardcore. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I think he loves it. But afterward, when I asked him why he didn't move, it's because he said he was frozen and he couldn't move. So, no, he had a great time. And they've got their lodging booked. They'll be back up there again this year, spending time with us in the tournament. So hopefully it's a little bit warmer for him this time around.
Well, and I'll say this too. If you're thinking about fishing the Rainy River this spring, and it's $40 for the tournament. It's not a hardcore tournament at all, but hanging out with some really, really good people. It's just kind of adds to the tradition. Have a little fun, having a couple of your favorite beverages, and it's a very, very nice time with a very good group of people. Plus, we're sharing, what we did fishing, how we caught them, what we tweaked to get those walleyes to start biting, things like that.
And we'll give away a bunch of door prizes at the bar afterward, bar and restaurant afterward each night. And it's just a fun tournament. Most of the money is either going back or getting donated to keeping it clean up there. So come on and join us April 11th and 12th with a pre-party non-mandatory rules meeting. April 10th at Riverbend Resort. We'll be recording the podcast live up there once again. It's a good time. It's a good party. You can find out more at sportingjournalradio.com. And if you want to find out more about Lake of the Woods, Joe, where should they go?
Check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Come ice fish the famous waters of Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, the walleye capital of the world. Experience full-service resorts featuring heated fish houses, ice transportation, meal plans, and sleeper house options. From the northwest angle to the south shore, Rainy River and Baudette, the Midwest's #1 ice fishing destination. Walleye, sauger, perch, and northern pike. Minnesota's Lake of the Woods, best fishing anywhere. For more information, log on to lakeofthewoodsmn.com.